There we go. And the button. Hey, hello ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? Welcome to the live stream. Just hanging out tonight, answering questions and stuff. Israel, what's going on, man? How you doing? Meepy, what's up? Zachary So Cole, hello. What up, dude? Austin Thomas, what up, man? Emilio, hello. Ooh, this looks hot. It's just about right. Andrew Mrock, what up? Dice Goblin, hello. Serenity, hello. Serenity? Serenity? That's probably proper like that. Cool, Austin. I'm glad to hear it, man. That's cool. I hope you're finding it useful and stuff. Brittany, hello. You made it. You made it. You definitely made it. You're here. Has work been getting in the way? Well, you know, the trick is just to take work off on take a half day on Thursdays, and then it's never an issue. Jennifer Mizutani. Oh, I just destroyed your name. I'm sorry. I was probably close-ish. Hello, welcome. Hobo Socks, what up, dude? I have like old socks and new socks in my dresser, right? Where I keep my socks. Not that it matters where I keep my socks, but I have a drawer for socks and underwear. But anyway, socks. So on the topic of socks, I have new socks and old socks. And my old socks, so the criteria for a sock getting thrown out is if there is a hole in it, I throw it out. And so the old socks, some of them are getting kind of threadbare. And then probably once a week, one of these suckers pops up with, what happened to that? Did I just lose my music? Oh no, I don't think so. Well, I'll get a sock that has a hole in it, and I'll be like, oh, that one's gone. I throw it out. But I'm getting low on socks. I need to probably go buy some socks or something. But anyway, your name reminded me of my socks. So, Marco, hello. Yes, bacon is delicious. Ladislav, what up, dude? Jennifer says it's okay, thanks. So I did okay on saying her last name. Gobnova, hello. Dicequake, what up? My sock cam? I'm not gonna show my socks on camera. I have been told that there are people with certain things going on, and that it would be unwise to show my socks on camera. We'll just leave it there. I think you all know what I'm talking about, so that's not happening, buddy. Sorry. Rick, what up, dude? Drac, hello. What's up, Goliath Cleric? Dave, what up? Oh, who is the young lady in the promo for Lairs and Legends? That is Taylor from Taylor's Tavern Tales. She has a YouTube channel. She does lots of shorts. I mean, she does long form and shorts, but her shorts are probably her, I don't know how you want to call it, her defining content. Like, I do long form videos and shorts, but my shorts are probably not what most people care about. I try to do shorts, but they mostly are pretty sucky in my opinion. So I'm just like, everybody has their strengths. But anyway, she has a YouTube channel, Taylor's Tavern Tales, and she did that promo for Lairs and Legends for us. Nat C, hello, what up? Brittany says you need an only for that. Yeah. No, I don't. No, I don't. Thank you, though. I'm not join my only. No. What is he? To see my socks. No. Oh yeah, you like the t-shirt? It's not actually a Bucky's shirt. This is one of those funny ones. It's like a spoof. Badoofies. Everybody who sees me, I love Bucky's, by the way, but everybody who sees me in this shirt, they don't even realize that it's not actually a Bucky's shirt. Everyone thinks it's a Bucky's shirt because nobody reads, right? They just see it's red circle logo that looks very similar, and they're like, "Oh, Buc-ee's," you know. So everybody thinks it's a Buc-ee's shirt, which is kind of funny. But I'll tell you what, there are two ways to strike up conversations with people that I have found that are very reliable. One is wearing a Buc-ee's shirt. If you wear a Buc-ee's shirt in public, you almost can't go out in public without having somebody say something to you. Like, it's just all the time. It happened today to me when I was out. And the other guaranteed way to get people to talk to you is to have a little tiny dog. Like, when I take my dog here, let's go to our dog cam. So when I take my little dog Zoe outside, and you know, if we're at a hotel or some other public area and the doggy's with us, you know, almost always people are gonna say something, you know, or smile, or I don't know. It's just, so having a little doggy like that, or a Buc-ee's shirt on are really good ways to just get people to talk to you. It's pretty good. Come on, get up here. Come on, let's go. There's no trap up here. This cat, he's afraid to come up here. I don't remember what that's about. Right there. Oh yeah, yeah, we're doing Q&A, so you can start throwing your questions in the chat. If you have questions or about game mastering, about, I don't care, it doesn't really matter. Don't ask me about my socks or what's under them, because we're not talking about that. But you know, any decent questions about normal topics are fine. And then, yeah. Well, no, Squeaky hasn't started nibbling on me yet. Right now, he's on the ground here. He wants to jump up here. He's pawing at me, but he won't jump up here. Come on. Get your big fat butt up here. There you go. You big turd. Woo! All right. Israel says, I'm glad to be part of the t-shirt conversation statistics. Yeah. Okay, so before we jump in, I'm just about to start pulling questions here. I do want to let you guys know, if you are looking for scented candles, Firelight Fables candles are the ones that I've been using for over a year now, probably about a year and a half or something. And these things are really good. First of all, they are apricots. They're, what do they call? They're coconut apricots wax, which doesn't like give you headaches. It doesn't bother you and stuff. Like, these don't bother my wife. And I whenever I burn the cheap soy candles, my wife will complain. I literally have like a candle going right now down here. And I usually have a candle burning when I'm working because it's got a good pleasant scent, and I have lots of animals in my house and they stink. So, but this type of wax, it's like, I don't know, it's really quality crap, and it doesn't like upset your senses. Or my wife is very sensitive to like smells and stuff, and this doesn't bother her, this type of wax. And it comes in fantasy scents. Like, this is Mermaid Lagoon. This one right here, Thieves Guild and Dungeon Delve, are my two favorite scents that I use in my games. And you can get these big, huge glass jars, and they have a smaller tin like this, and then they have an even smaller tin like this as well. So there's a link down in the chat, the description and stuff, where you can check these out. They're super great. I always use these when I'm playing my D&D games. Like, when I'm back in person over there, I'll have it burning. Again, it helps cover up the scent of all the animals that I have in here, and it sets the scene and stuff like that. So I really love these things. I use them in my own games all the time and stuff. So if you want to check those out, there's actually, if you use we have a discount code, the DM Lair, which should also be down in the link and stuff, where you'll get 10% off your order as well if you want to grab some of these suckers. So there you go. All right, that's our shameless plug for the night, and now we do questions. Let's see. I saw one on here. How would you start a second campaign running coherent with another? Events in both campaigns can or probably will affect one another. Well, so I feel like if you want the campaigns to be coherent, you probably want to be coherent when you plan and create your campaigns to begin with. So I personally, this is just me, but I have found that I am most coherent when I am, so I give myself like maybe an hour or two to wake up in the morning. So I'm like, I'm awake, and probably have a little bit of coffee or caffeine in me. I don't drink full coffee. I drink mostly decaf with a tiny bit of caffeine in it, but that helps me wake me up. So I get pretty coherent that way. But so give yourself some time to wake up so you're very coherent. And you want to start doing your campaign planning before you start drinking or do some of that stuff that's gonna, cause certain impediments and impairments, right? Like biologically in your body. So you definitely want that will, if you don't drink and design, your games, then you're probably going to be more coherent as well. So I think those are probably some tips for coherency. I mean, if you have any headaches or anything, you probably want to take a little ibuprofen or something like that, because that can really distract from your coherence as well. So I think those are probably my top tips for designing a campaign to make it coherent. Now, if you want to do two campaigns at the same time while you're coherent, then I think it's even more important to follow those tips for, making sure you're awake, making sure you're not under the influence of anything, just have complete coherency. So I think those are probably the best advice I can give you about being coherent while you're designing your campaigns. I can also give you tips about concurrent campaigns as well, if you're interested in concurrent campaigns. So the way to do concurrent campaigns, you got two groups and you want them to somehow interact with each other and be concurrent. I've never done that before. I don't think it's hard. It does depend on just coordinating your planning with what's going on in another campaign. So if you got this, I don't know. It's not a question of how to do it. It's more a question of implementing it well, because you got to get it, what's happening in this campaign somehow affects this campaign, which affects this campaign. It's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to pull off. Probably the easiest way to do it is to have past events from this group show up over in this group's campaign line when they're doing stuff, and if they react to those things, that stuff might show up over here. But you're just kind of doing this thing where things that happen over here are seen and affect the game over here, and then your players over here can react to it and do things which might in turn affect this. So you could do that. I feel like my gut tells me that unless you tell your players that you're doing it, they're never gonna know, right? And honestly, so it's if these two groups are playing and things from their game are affecting the other people's game, unless you're hey guys, guess what I'm doing, they're never gonna know. It's just gonna go over their head. They're probably never gonna know. At that point, you have to ask yourself, what's the point? You're almost creating additional burden and work on yourself to make the two campaigns have crossover effects, when the players are never going to know about it. And I would not suggest telling them that you're doing it, because that's just I don't know. What are we doing? It's hey guys, I'm that awesome. Look what I'm doing, or is it that's rolling back the screen and showing them what's going on behind the screen type of thing that I usually try to not tell my players about at all, So if I were going to do something like that, I would probably do it for, I don't know, months or years without ever telling them. And then if they found out, and then they'd be oh my gosh, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And then it would be a cool thing for them, I suppose. But that unless there is a real good reason to do it, it seems like a lot of work and coordination on your part for very little payoff, which means that there needs to be a really good reason to do it, that you need to do it. And at that point, it's just coordinating. It's just you implementing the logistics to make it happen. So I don't know. That's all I really got to say about it. I wouldn't do it unless there's a really good reason, though, because it's a lot of work for no reason, Haunted News, you like the shirt? Hey. My Badoofies shirt? Yeah. Eamon called me a troll. What a troll. I'm a bad person. I'm a very, very bad person. I agree with you. Every day I get up, and I have a thing in my notebook that I write down every morning. It's 3 statements about how I'm a bad person. Like number 1, and then I just list off 3 different things that just, reinforce the fact that I'm a bad person, and I'm gonna make sure I feel really bad about myself, have really low self-esteem, before I go about my day. I do that every morning. Every morning, I have it literally in my notebook. You can see I have the 3 things right here that I list off at the top of it, man, because I want to underscore that I'm a very bad man, and that just really makes my day feel really horrible. I get down on myself right off first thing in the morning, and it's the way to go, man. Absolutely. Yeah, amen. I'm just messing with you, dude. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I saw some other questions. What's your opinion on the following house rule? Ooh, house rules. When a player is making death saves and then becomes stable, so making death, they receive a number of exhaustion levels equal to the number of failed death saves. Okay, sure. Why not? Why not? The rule that I make is whenever you drop to 0, you get 1 exhaustion. That's it. Your rule is even more like, I don't know what the right word is, gritty, right? You might call it punishing or severe or harsh, but I don't think so. It's like you almost died. There should be some sort of mechanical consequence, in my opinion, which is why I apply a level of exhaustion when you drop to 0 in my games, in my D&D 5e games. Because I also have a Pathfinder 2 game that I run, and exhaustion doesn't exist in that game, in that system. But yours is like the number of failed death saving throws, you get a level of exhaustion. Sure, why not? So you're probably gonna get at least 1. No. If you drop to 0, if you don't make any failed death saves, you wouldn't necessarily get any exhaustion. So yeah, that's fair. And so if you die, it doesn't matter. But if you fail 1, you have a level of exhaustion. Fail 2 levels of exhaustion. If you die, you would technically get a 3rd one. The only thing I'm fine with that rule. If you want to use it, and have a conversation with your players, let your players know that, hey guys, this is a change I want to make to the game because I feel the D&D 5th edition is like a pansy game. It's like everybody's just like, oh, we dropped to 0 hit, we almost die, and we get right back up, and nothing no consequences. So like if you and your players all want to have a grittier game, then sure, something like that will definitely get that going and make that happen. But have that conversation, because you definitely don't just want to like pull that out in the moment and be like, oh yeah guys, by the way, I decided I'm doing this. Talk to your players before you make that change, and then just get general feelings and stuff around the table for that. And then I feel like if you have 3 failed death saving throws and you die, the 5th edition D&D, death is meaningless, because at like 5th level, somebody's going to be able to revivify you. 300 gold pieces is really easy to come by if people are using the rules in the Dungeon Master Guide, which tells you to give out gold like candy, essentially. So they're almost assuredly going to be able to revivify you by the time you get to 5th level. So death is mostly meaningless in the game. So if you want to make that actually meaningful, though, have them keep the 3 levels of exhaustion. Like, yes, you died, so you failed death saving throws 3 times, you died, they'll revivify you, but when you get back up, you still have 3 failed death saving throws. And that's a big deal, because the first one is disadvantage on ability checks, and what is it? Something else. No, I think it's just ability checks. And then the next one is half your movement speed is halved. But by the time you get to the 3rd one, you have disadvantage, if I remember correctly, on all your D20 rolls, all of them. So it gets really bad, And then of course, at higher levels, you'll have a cleric who can cast greater restoration and get rid of it. And then exhaustion becomes meaningless at higher levels. The higher the levels you get to, the game becomes more meaningless, in my opinion, because player power vastly outscales the challenge of the game, unless the game master really does some certain things, which they kind of have to do at high levels. And if you make it at the high levels, you probably have the experience to be able to make some of those changes to make things challenging. So, but out of the box, it's kind of a joke. Although I was reading an article yesterday where one of the game designers, I forget what his name was, it wasn't Crawford, but there was a game designer who had made a quote. They quoted him as saying that they're going to make the monsters for the 2024 Monster Manual hit harder at higher levels. But they said that for the the monsters of the multiverse too, and I don't know if that actually is the case. But the thing is that the problem is that since most of the new classes in the 2024 player handbook are more powerful, based upon my conversation with Treant Monk and some other stuff that I was reading, the classes seem to be more powerful, which makes sense because they want to sell books. And if the classes are not more powerful than what you already have, nobody would buy the books. So understand, from a business standpoint, understood. So if the classes are all more powerful, that means the monsters don't just need a small bump. The monsters need a big bump in order to have a certain challenge level. But I don't know that they're necessarily making the core books to fulfill the purpose of to appeal to the crowd of people that want a really gritty game, like maybe old school type gamers and stuff. I think they're making the books and rules and stuff to appeal to a different demographic of players. So I don't know that you're probably really gonna get monsters that hit hard at high levels. I think you're probably still gonna get a superhero type game where high level play is just kind of a joke unless the game master does some real work to make it more challenging. And then maybe every time we get high level modules, the high level modules are always like, well, this spell, this thing doesn't work, and this doesn't work, and this doesn't work, and this doesn't work. And it's like, well, we got the high levels, and you got access to all of these stupid things, but if you run these modules, the modules literally tell you that not to allow the players to do those things because those things will break the game. So I don't know. We just have it's a crazy world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. It's a crazy world. Okay, let's see. Have I tried Shadow Dark? Yeah, I have. I literally played Shadow Dark Tuesday night. I joined a game on Start Playing, and I played a game of Shadow Dark for the first time on Tuesday night. So yeah, I have played Shadow Dark, and I have another game on next Tuesday night to play Shadow Dark again. And I think that's the last one. I think I'm supposed to be 3 game sessions, and I missed the first one, so the second one will be there. So I actually kind of want to start up my own other game, but not D&D 5th edition. I have one D&D 5th edition game, and that's about all I can take. And then I like my Pathfinder 2 game, but I was thinking of starting up another paid game. If I did, it would probably be Shadow Dark. That's one of the reasons I wanted to play in the game of Shadow Dark, because I'm like, I'm getting this like, kind of like I want to start up a game or something, And I was like, I should just play Shadow Dark. But then I was like, I've never actually played. I should run Shadow Dark. But then I was like, I've never actually played Shadow Dark. I should probably play the game before I run the game. Not that I have to, but it's not bad to do that, right? And because I first started playing D&D back in high school, I think. I'd never been a player before. I just started game mastering, and that's where I started. So, but I've read a lot of the rules for Shadow Dark. But until you play the game, you don't really learn the rules and understand things for a game until you play the game. So I wanted to get a little bit of play experience in there. So yeah, there you go. Dane says, do you think you'll ever try out the 2024 version of D&D 5e when it releases? I mean, I don't know. I don't have the books. I emailed Wizards people this week asking if I can get preview copies of, especially the Dungeon Master Guide, because I want to be able to probably make content on that to see what the changes are and to let people know and stuff. But I don't know. They haven't responded to me yet. I don't know. Maybe they'll respond to me. Who knows? But as far as playing 2024, I have very little desire to play the 2014 version right now. I really kind of I want to play different game systems right now. So, I mean, I'll learn the 2024 version because we publish content for it. So I have to make sure I understand the new version. At some point, our publications will probably have to change over to the new version. When that happens, who knows? It's not been decided yet. We'll probably have to see in general what the reception is for the new version before we would even consider changing our content over to it, obviously. But I have to get the books and like actually learn the system and see what the changes are and stuff, so I can be competent for publishing crap if when it comes to that. But I don't have any current plans to play in the new version. No. To me, it's all the same. Like, so far, what I've seen, all of the changes in the new version are mostly have to do with classes. And I'm a game master. I don't care about classes. It doesn't interest me. The new feats and stuff don't interest me. I'm a game master. The monsters interest me. If they try to improve the challenge rating system and the encounter design system, that would very much interest me. But we will see if they end up doing that. My dog is wandering around. I hope she's being a good doggy and doesn't do something bad. I took her out before the stream. I hope she's okay. She might just want food or something. So anyway, but from my point of view, whether I'm running 2014 or 2024 version of D&D, it makes no difference from a game master standpoint, because my stuff is all the same. It's going to be more of a question of, are my players all going to want to be like running new characters? And if my players are all like, Luke, we want to do the new one, then I might consider it. Okay. Cranky Smurf says Mordenkainen's of the Multiverse, something what is it? Masters of the Multiverse, whatever it was a cash grab. I mean, I think so. I agree with that, because what they really did was they took Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and they essentially reprinted the monsters in them with some changes. There were definitely what I would definitely consider some of their changes to be quality of life improvements. One of them was listing the proficiency bonus for a monster, which I think was good. That should have been there all along, and they put it there. And you could always like backwards engineer the proficiency bonus by looking at the stat block, but just putting it there and listing it is very useful. The other thing they did that I think was a very smart move for spellcasters is you don't really, when you have a spellcaster, mid-level or high-level spellcaster, you don't need to list out all the spells, all the cantrips they have, all the first level spells, all the second level spells, all the third level spells, all the fourth level spells, all the fifth level spells, all the sixth level spells. It is a waste of time. It's a waste of space, because everybody knows that most monsters, enemy spellcasters, will live for probably 2 or 3 rounds. They're going to get to cast maybe 3 spells, and then they're going to die. So having all of these spells listed is pointless for the most part. There are use cases where you would want all of those things, and especially where you would want like non-combat spells. There are use cases for that. But if you're going to use an enemy spellcaster in that way, you can easily just pick some more spells to have them. But when they redid it so that you had a handful of spells, and then it listed, 3 times per day, or unlimited use, 3 times per day, twice per day, once per day, or something. I think that was very smart. That was the way to do it for sure. So that was a very good change. Now you could like compare stat block to stat block and say, I don't like the spells they decided to drop and the ones they kept or something. So I mean, you can nitpick it, but overall, speaking in high level generalities, that change was a very positive one in my opinion. From a game master who's had to like weed through spells and be like garbage. Oh, I'm actually going to use that one. So getting rid of a lot of the stuff you'll never use, I think, was a really good change. But besides for that little tiny tweak, yeah, that book was, you could say it's a cash grab. I don't see, yeah. If you wanted to like, they should have just given us more monsters, man. Just give us more monsters. Like, the majority of the books I buy for my games are monster books. I have every single monster book that I can get my hands on, because I always want more monsters for my books. Always. Like, I don't care about most of the things they release. It's like, if I'm not running a module, then I'm not going to buy the module. But if I'm homebrewing my games, which most of them are, then I'm going to want more monsters. Give me more monsters. And so I'll buy monster books, but I'm not going to buy reprinted monsters. What? Are you going to come up here again? You came up here once, then you ran away. Come on. Oh my gosh, you're a moron. Yeah, cat. Well, he wants to come up here, but he's afraid to jump up here. He thinks I'm gonna hurt him or something. I don't know. He's afraid. He's afraid. Rick Smathers says, I love some of the methods for designing boss monsters, including stuff from the DM Lair. Oh, thank you, dude. Yeah, I have 2 videos. Is it 2 videos? I think I have 2 videos about creating the perfect boss fight. So, yeah. Brittany says, changing this a little for clarity, how long do you think it would take a single Grick to eat a person? I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the grit stat block and see what we have going on here. So let me go to my screen, this guy here, and Grick. So you want to go, let's see, game rules. Nope. Tools. There we go. I can never find these things. You want to look at a Grick. A Grick. Okay, so a Grick. So a Grick makes 1 attack with its tentacles, and then if it hits, it can make 1 attack with its beak against the same target. So a commoner, when you say ask a person, or to eat a person, I'm assuming it's like a normal person like me. I would be considered a commoner, right? And according to the D&D rules, a commoner has 4 hit points, if I remember correctly. So a Grick can dish out an average of 9 points of damage with one of its attacks. So if it's attacking me, I'm dead from the tentacle attack. Like I'm just, the tentacles wrap me up, I'm dead. It's over. I go limp. And then its beak attack gets me, and then it just like rips my face off and pulls out my guts and swallows them like spaghetti or something. Like, you know, so if you're talking about a commoner, the commoner is done for. You can't do anything. The Grick is gonna clean you up. They did, by the way, Goliath Cleric sent me an article from, I believe from Wizards on D&D Beyond, where they said, didn't they say, was it on D&D Beyond, where they literally said they were going to make sure the 2014 rules were always available. Where was that? Oh, and now you have to like see where they would make an announcement like that. Gosh, where was that, Goliath Cleric? And I gotta go find my thingy. Let's go over here. Where is it? Yeah, so it's over here. Okay, now I can go back to here. All right, so it says, okay, so they said what isn't changing: access to the 2014 rules and homebrew, because this is something that I think people have been wondering. You know, are they at some point going to take down 2014 rules and homebrew stuff? Because, you know, if they do that, then it basically forces people to use the new rules, which people may or may not like. But, you know, you could say that if they take them down and force people to use the new rules, they will get more sales or something. You know, that's probably the argument for why folks think that they would take them down, to be able to sell more of the new version books. But they're saying here that, I'm just going to read what this says because I haven't actually read this. It says, what isn't changing? Access to the 2014 rules and homebrew. You will not lose access to the basic rules or to your copies of the 2014 Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, or Monster Manual. Well, I mean, if I have a physical book, of course I'm not going to lose a copy. But are you talking about D&D Beyond? Yeah, it sounds like the context is D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond updates. So that's the context. So I'm going to assume that they're talking about D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond is not going to change that. So we're always going to have access to the 2014 rules and homebrew on D&D Beyond. You'll continue to be able to create characters in the character builder using the classes, subclasses, species, backgrounds, and feats found in the 2014 Player's Handbook. They're not called species in that book, though. They're called races. So those will still be available. All the monsters found in the 2014 Monster Manual will also still be available for use in the tool set. These materials will be marked with a legacy badge if there are newer versions of them in the 2024 core rulebooks. Guys, how long do you think it's going to take before people, and even D&D itself, starts calling it 5.5? Like, How long do you think we're gonna have to say 2014 Player's Handbook, 2024? Like that's a mouthful. You know, it's so much easier to just say 5.5 because that's basically what it is. For all intents and purposes, it kind of is. So how long do you think we're gonna sit here? A year? I mean, remember that when 5th edition came out, they would not originally call it 5th edition. They were calling it D&D Next. It was D&D Next for I don't know how long, but then finally, everybody just called it 5th edition. So finally, Wizards themselves started calling it 5th edition too. So I'm wondering how long we're gonna keep up this ruse shenanigans of 2014, 2024. Like I understand that they're trying to underscore that it's not a new edition and stuff, so people don't freak out and like I don't know burn their whatever people burn when they freak out. But I just don't. This is a mouthful every time I gotta say this. I just want to say 5th edition or 5.5 or 5e or 5.5. It's so much easier to talk about it when we. So. Drax says I keep seeing 5.24. Brady says Cosmere RPG is awesome, Luke. Well, nobody has access to it. They're doing the Kickstarter right now. So how would we know it's awesome? Is it available? Like, do they have something like a quick start that's already available or something? Mistborn expansion next year. I mean, I'm reading the Mistborn series right now. Brandon Sanderson is one of the best fantasy authors that has ever breathed on this earth. I swear. He is a stinking genius. I love that guy. So I've read the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and about book 5 or so, the Wheel of Time series just kind of takes a plunge into the toilet of verbosity and nothing happening and probably just making money because you have a captured audience and they're going to buy every book you write. And so around book 5 or so, Wheel of Time just like goes into the toilet. It's painful. It's painful to read. You have 800 pages of nothing and then 200 pages of action. When Brandon Sanderson took over the Wheel of Time series, it was amazing. Instantly, you could tell the difference, and I loved it. That guy is awesome. So now I'm reading the Mistborn series. But anyway, we're way off topic there. Way off topic. So anyway, yeah, we're not going to lose access to that stuff. This is what they say right here. You know, I mean, that's what it says right here. But lest we forget, don't forget that in the year 2000, when the OGL was originally created, the Wizards of the Coast at the time, it was Wizards of the Coast, right? Yeah. Because TSR had gotten bought up by, it was Wizards of the Coast at the time. Unless I'm totally getting my crap screwed up. But in the 2000s or whatever, when the OGL was originally created, Wizards of the Coast at the time told us that this is irrevocable. Like, that was the messaging. Like, literally, you know, the guy who, what was his name? His last name was Dancy. I forget his first name. But, like, he was the guy who was behind the work on that. And it was designed to be irrevocable, never to take back and stuff. And that was in 2000 when the OGL was originally created. And let us not forget that 2 years ago, they tried to take that away. They tried to say they wanted to revoke it, right? So, I don't want to just be like, you're lying or something, but we have to remember that it is possible to say a thing and let a thing be a thing for a while, but then change your mind. Like, companies can do that. This company literally tried to do that 2 years ago for something that had been established for like 20 years, where everybody just like, this can't be revoked, and they tried to do it, you know? And so, like, just let's not forget that that was a thing that happened. So I know they said they're not going to change it, but, you know, is that going to be true 5 years from now? You know, how long is that going to be true? I mean, a CEO, people in charge change about every 3 years or so, roughly, give or take. And so who knows what, you know, the change of guard will come up with in 3 years or something. You just don't know. You never know. So you really want to have the physical book. If you have the physical book, they can never take it away from you. And you'll be able to play D&D of the version you want with your friends forever, and they can't take it away from you. And they can't microtransaction you. They can't make you pay for little tiny things here and there. They can't do jack diddly squat to your game because you have the physical book. So let's keep that in mind. Ryan Dancy, yes, thank you. That's the first name, Ryan. All right, let's get back to questions. That was a tangent. Please, if you asked a question and I did not get to it, please feel free to repost it. I know I saw a whole bunch of questions and I didn't get to them all, so throw them back again if you would be so kind. And while you're doing that, I will let you know about the sponsor of today's little live stream. Firelight Fables Candle Company. I always trip over their name. I don't know why. I've been using their candles for like over a year now, and Thieves Guild and Dungeon Delve are my favorite ones. And for whatever reason, even though I use their candles all the time, I literally have one burning right now. It's about to go out because it's getting low on wax. But I always trip over their name for some reason. But these are my two favorite ones. These are fantasy scented candles. They are amazing. They're high quality. This is coconut apricot wax. It's not cheap soy wax. And there are wooden wicks as well, which are different than the normal wicks you have. These things like flicker and stuff. I don't know. They're cool. So they have these big jars right here, and they have smaller tins, and then they have even smaller tins you can get as well. They come in like, you can get like themed bundles and stuff where you save money over buying them individually. And there's a link down in the chat for them too if you want to pick some up. You can use the code the DM Lair to get 10% off. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I like using them is I have lots of cats and a dog, and they kind of put an odor in the air, let us say. And these candles are amazing at covering up that odor, which is one of the reasons that when my friends come over and play, that I always have one of these suckers burning, because it helps make my basement not smell like, you know, crazy old cat lady basement. So anyway, I like them. And even if you don't have animals, they still smell good. My wife has stolen 2 of my candles now, and she has 2 of them upstairs on, like, I don't know, it's not the dining room. I don't know what you call it. So we have a kitchen, and then adjacent to the kitchen is an area where we have a small table, but it's not like the dining room because there's another dining room that's like has a formal table in it. But on that little table adjacent to the kitchen, whatever you call that area, she has stolen 2 of my candles now and has them up there. So I think one of them is called Astral Plane. So anyway, the breakfast nook, is that what we call it? Okay, cool. The breakfast nook. We sometimes eat breakfast there. El desayunador, le decimos. Ah, ok. Bueno, está bien. El desayunador. Today we had desayuno at a new place that my wife and I went to, and it's this place called the Omelet Shop in Traverse City, Michigan. And wow, it was garbage. It was trash. I don't know how they did this. Let's go take a look at this. Don't go here. I need to leave them a review. The Omelet Shop. Let's see. This place, you do not want to go here. Traverse City. The Omelet Shop, Traverse City. I don't know how places can get such good reviews and then be trash. So this is the place right here. The Omelet Shop right here. And they have like good reviews and everything. Why can I not see? What am I looking at wrong? Where are the reviews? Oh yeah, this place is amazing. Look at this. This place is amazing. The bacon was amazing. The jam. Friendly staff, delicious breakfast. This place was garbage. Never go here. It's like 4.4 stars. I don't know how. So the corned beef hash had no flavor to it. I don't know how you can make corned beef hash and not have any flavor to it. I had to put ketchup on it, which is sacrilege. You should only have to put like a little bit of salt on corned beef hash, if you even need it, because a lot of times it's salted enough. But it was not, then no flavor to it. And then my wife had a couple pancakes with some like jelly or jam on it. That was actually okay-ish. And then the next part blows my mind. They had sausage gravy that had no flavor. No flavor at all. Actually, hold on. So I originally had a biscuit and I put sausage gravy on the biscuit, and I was eating it and I was like, this is like, I don't know, not that good. So then I just took a little bit of sampling of the gravy itself, and the sausage gravy itself tasted bad. It tasted like flour, basically, or cornstarch, probably, because that's what they use to thicken it, I'm sure, because it was homemade. But there was no flavor of sausage at all in it, and it just tasted like flour or cornstarch. And the only reason the sausage on top of the biscuit tasted halfway decent was that the biscuit actually was pretty good. It was probably one of those biscuits, the pre-made biscuits that you just warm up in the oven type of deal, but it actually tasted pretty good. So this place is, don't go here. This is very bad. Don't ever go here. I'm sorry. You mentioned breakfast, and then I had to talk about my breakfast today, which sucked. So yeah. What about cornstarch? They use cornstarch to thicken gravy a lot of times. It's like a thickening agent for gravy, and it has tons of sugar and crap in it, so it's not good for you either. It's like pure sugar, almost. Only it doesn't taste sweet, but it's still sugar. I know, dude. Jennifer, I'm telling you, I don't know how you can make sausage gravy without flavor. It's like, okay, so the hash browns didn't have a whole lot of flavor, but it's potatoes. It's like, okay, the way to get flavor in potatoes is probably lots of butter and then spices and seasonings and stuff. Okay, cool. They didn't do that, obviously, but corned beef hash and sausage gravy without flavor, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. So Copper9D6 says, how well would your Layers and Legends content work in Shadow Dark or in Tales of the Valiant? So Tales of the Valiant, it'll be perfect. There'll be no problems whatsoever, because Tales of the Valiant is quite literally a 5th edition clone with a couple changes. Instead of hero points, they use a luck system, and I think they made some other minor changes, but for all intents and purposes, Tales of the Valiant is a 5th edition clone. So anything that is designed for D&D 5th edition will work in Tales of the Valiant. You should have no problem whatsoever. Now the Tales of the Valiant system and the monsters, Cobalt Press monsters, are their challenge rating. How I say this? A CR5 from Cobalt Press is a more challenging monster than a CR5 from Wizards of the Coast, and so which is okay, because the adventures we publish, not all of them, but some of them tend to be more on the challenging spectrum anyway. So I think it'll line up pretty well if you're running Tales of the Valiant. Now, if you're using Shadow Dark is different enough from D&D 5th edition that you're gonna have to, change some stuff. Like, you could take one of our adventures we made, and you're gonna have to tweak some things. Like, the core of the adventure you can keep and use, but like the monsters, you're gonna have to figure out how to replace them, And then if there are traps, you're probably gonna have to use a different trap or tweak the trap so that it works with Shadow Dark. Puzzles should mostly just translate pretty quickly, So I think you probably have like 90% of the core of the adventure works just fine, and then you're mostly gonna have to take the encounters and change the encounters with Shadow Dark monsters. But that's probably the biggest change you're gonna have to make, and otherwise it'll work pretty darn well. And I don't know about you, but when I run a published module, I almost always change the monsters a little bit anyway. So it's probably work we're going to do anyway. So Dice Quick had Pop-Tarts. Oh, I love Pop-Tarts. I love the brown sugar and cinnamon. I think it's brown sugar and cinnamon, or is it just brown sugar Pop-Tarts? I forget, but those are my favorite ones. Strawberry ones are good too. Those are so good. You warm them up in like a toaster. Oh, Pop-Tarts are amazing. I haven't had a Pop-Tart for years. Ooh, those are good though. They're horrible for you. They're absolutely horrible. It's part of like it's part of like the breakfast conspiracy. Like, the whole food industry in the US just wants to kill us all. Like, our breakfast food is horrible. Like, cereal is just full of sugar and crap. And then all the food we eat, it's like everybody just wants to kill us. So it's delicious. I mean, we'll die happy, but we'll die. So I don't know. Sorry, I should just talk about D&D. S'mores Pop-Tarts, I've had those. Those are delicious. Those are very delicious. Yeah. Bradley says, I think I'm watching 10 minutes behind your actual stream, so my comments will be more on topic when I mean them to be. Okay. Kraken says, any tips to introduce players to new systems. For example, 5th edition to DCC for newer TTRPG players. I mean, you're gonna burn your nose on that candle, Cat. I'm getting nosy over here. It's about to go out too. It's getting low on wax. I feel like if I were introducing players to a new game system, whether they're coming from an existing system or they're brand new players, I feel like my approach is almost the same. I would mostly minimize their need to know the rules, and I would just tell them to just declare what your character is doing, and I will tell you what to roll. And then we'll start playing the game, and through playing the game and me telling you what to roll, you'll kind of figure things out. And then they're probably going to ask questions, and you'll slowly explain things, but you want to, as much as possible, you want to teach the game as you play the game. Big information dumps at the beginning where you're trying to tell them all the rules and how things work, most people are not going to be able to remember it. Half of your players are going to be like spaced out while you're doing that, and maybe a couple might pay attention. So I would focus mostly on trying to play the game while teaching the rules, and then maybe after the game session or something, you'll focus on one particular thing to teach them. Like, okay, guys, this is this rule right here that we were using a lot during the game. I just want to explain how this works. You know what I mean? And just kind of slowly but surely teach them a few things. So, but I would not do a big information dump. And if they're coming from an existing system, then what you can do is you could maybe here and there explain some of the similarities and changes. You know, like if you're going from 5th edition to DC 20, you're like, okay, look, most things use a D20. You know, if you're going to attack or you're going to make a saving throw, you're going to make an ability check, you roll a D20, you know. However, a difference is that during combat, you have 4 actions you can take. Instead of having a movement, an action, and then a bonus action, and then an interaction, and then trying to figure out all that crap out. Instead of that, you just have 4 actions, and they can be used. You can move 4 times if you want. You could attack 4 times if you want. But if you attack 4 times, I'm pretty sure that there is some sort of like penalty the more times you attack in DC 20. I could be wrong though. I played it 4 times with Dungeon Coach, but I'm not an expert. So that's how I would approach it. Just teaching new players. Focus on playing the game. Don't focus on explaining the rules, and the rules will slowly come as you go and as you explain. AG Silver Radio said, I had 3 cinnamon rolls, a slice of cheese, and some turkey for breakfast. Turkey's good. I like turkey. Hobel Sock says, question. The CR system teaches DMs and players that combat should be a safe bet. Turns all encounters into nails, so players only have to use hammers. Unbalanced encounters encourage creativity. Thoughts? So, I feel like how you approach that depends on the style of game that you're running and the understanding you have with your players. If you are running a game where most encounters are meant to be winnable, your players should understand that. So that they're not like I once, when I was playing for my youngling players, they were mostly new to D&D. This was like years ago, and they were all about 12, 13 years old. And there was this thing that kept on happening. The girls especially tended to be terrified of fighting any monsters because they were afraid of dying. And the boys would kind of just be like, we don't care, we just want to kill some crap. But the girls would always be very hesitant to open doors, to go into rooms. And it was a problem because one of the girls, one of the girls was fine with it. She had no problems running in, but she was an archer. And the other girl, who was the fighter, heavy armor, never wanted to go first. And she was just afraid of dying and all this kind of stuff. And so at one point, I remember telling my players, I was like, listen, guys, look, most encounters in this game are meant to be winnable. So you're the fighter. You don't have to be afraid of going first. Now, yeah, sure, you can't be foolish, but like, you know, you don't need to worry so much. Most of the things are designed to be winnable. And so I told them that specifically because they were sometimes just too afraid to do anything. And so we'd sit there forever, you know, not doing something, you know, until like the girl who was an archer, I think her name Kate? I think her name was Kate, would like just be like, screw it, I'm gonna open the door. And then she's an archer and she's getting her butt kicked and she's like, I'm dying, help! You know, it's like, well, you shouldn't be going first. So if if that's the game you're running, then as long as your players know that's the game you're running, cool. Now, if you're not running that sort of game and your encounters are going to be, you know, some of them are winnable, others are not, and the players don't stand a chance, perhaps, well, then that needs to be very clear to your players and communicated to your players. Your players need to know that that's the style of game that you're running, so that you set that expectation and that they can approach the game knowing that, hey, if we see a big, massive red demon breathing fire and flames coming down on us, that might not be winnable. We should probably not just rush in and attack it. We should probably use our brains and think of a different way to overcome this challenge. So as long as you clearly communicate how the game style you're running to your players, I don't think there's an issue doing things either way. You know, like my players generally know that most things are winnable in the games that I run, but every so often there's going to be something crazy. But usually when there's something crazy, I make sure that narratively I make it at least a little bit clear that it might be over their heads. I don't just throw things in there without it being clear to them. Now my players are all very experienced, so if they're like level 3 and they see a big, huge, massive dragon, they're gonna know this is a bad idea. Let's get out of here. So, but I know my players too. I know that they're all very experienced gamers. They've been playing for decades, most of them, if not all of them. And so I can confidently throw things at them, and I know that I can trust that they're gonna use their brains, you know? So as long as you communicate and expectations are set, either way you wanna run it is cool. All encounters are solvable. Yeah, I mean, they can be, yeah, even if solving the encounter is running away or hiding or sneaking by or something. But be careful, because if you sneak by a whole bunch of encounters in a dungeon and then you finally get into a fight, guess what you have behind you? A whole bunch of enemies that might come your way. So you have to be careful with that. More than one adventuring party has sneaked by encounters or bypassed encounters. One of my TPKs happened from bypassing an encounter. One of the, I think it must have been the cleric, they used turn undead, and an entire group of undead were turned and ran away. And so they're like, yay, we overcame the encounter. And then they kept on going through the dungeon. And then they ran into, but here's the thing, that group of undead was only turned for, I think it lasts 1 minute. It might be 10, but I think it's just 1 minute. But when they were no longer turned, that group of undead started to follow my players. They were being led by, there was one of the undead that was intelligent. So there was, I mean, I was role playing them with, you know, with fidelity. It wasn't just unintelligent undead doing something they wouldn't normally do. But one of them was intelligent and leading the others, and they began trailing behind my players. And they were literally, the intelligent undead played music of some sort. I forget exactly what it was. It was a few years ago. But they were playing music, and I literally described to my players that you hear a song behind you. It was the same song they originally heard when they fought those undead for the first time. And I described this 2 different times. I went out of my way to emphasize they heard this melody coming from behind them. And my players continued forward knowing this, and one of them even said, guys, those undead are following us. And they kept going forward, and then they ran into another group of undead. Were they undead at that point? They might have not been undead. They might have been something different, but they ran into a group of enemies. And then wouldn't you know it, on round 2, the group of undead that were following them, that I had told them very clearly were back there, they caught up to them, they got sandwiched, and they wiped. They all died. And I made a video about that. It's on my channel. I don't know the name of it or whatever. But that was one of the TPKs that I had. And it's because the players had overcome an encounter, but they didn't really overcome it. And then it came back to bite them. Maybe quite literally. I forget what type of undead those were, but they might have actually literally bit them, and they all died. And then they made new characters, and we were all fine. But you gotta be careful about that. Oh, Israel, you remember that video? Yeah. I like talking about the TPKs. I've only had about 4 or so TPKs. It doesn't happen a whole lot. I don't like TPKs. I allow them to happen because I feel that the possibility of death and losing is integral to the game, and without it, the game becomes unexciting and uninteresting to me. And so I allow the possibility of death, and TPKs to be there, but I don't enjoy them, and I'd much rather not have to go through them because it's kind of a pain in the butt, and it's a bummer, you know. But if it's not possible, the game isn't worth playing, in my opinion. I just would rather they not happen. All right, let's see. Looking for questions. If I missed your question, feel free to repost your question. Copper says, how do you deal with a player who tends to back away from encounters they think are too hard? I mean, I think I already addressed that. I tell my players that, you know, hey, most encounters are meant to be beaten. You know, you shouldn't be afraid of everything. Sometimes it is going to be too hard for you, you know. But if I just have, look at it, if I just have like one player who never wants to fight and the other ones go and fight, then I don't know, like if you did not contribute meaningfully to overcoming the encounter, then you probably aren't going to get experience points for it or something. Like you can't just run away and have everybody else go fight and do the thing and then get reward for it. And the other thing too is that if that one player runs away and doesn't fight when the other 4 go in, they're going to be literally sitting at the game table with nothing to do for 15 minutes, half an hour, however long it takes to resolve that combat. That one player who didn't want to fight when the other 4 did go to fight is going to be sitting there with nothing to do, and allow that to happen. Here's the thing. You can, by allowing uncomfortable situations like that, you can encourage certain behavior. So, for instance, if you have a player who is taking forever on their turns in combat and you pull out a timer and you say everybody has 1 minute to decide what they're going to do, or you lose your turn, or you dodge, or however you want to handle it, but you have 1 minute, and if you can't make up your mind, then you dodge and we go to the next player, and then you can encourage people to be quick and decisive because it only takes 1 or 2 times of a player getting skipped for all intents and purposes before they start making up their minds. And so you can encourage a certain type of behavior by letting them feel like the consequences and feel a little bit of suffering and feel a little bit of like, oh, that really sucked, I didn't like that. And so in the same way, if you have a player who never wants to join combats because they're running away and the other players are fighting, let them sit at the game table and do nothing for a half an hour. Don't try to run a game for them at the same time. No, none of that. Let them feel the consequences of like, oh, I didn't want to help my companions and now I'm just going to kind of wait while they play the game. You know, next time, guess what? They're probably going to go help them and they're going to get to play the game as well. It's the same thing. Like if I were, I've always like, you know, thought about this scenario. This has never happened to me, but I've always thought about this scenario. I run lots of games at conventions and, well, not lots and lots, but I do them, you know, a few times a year. And when I run a game at a convention, it's always occurred to me, like, what would I do if I had the group, let's say 4 of the players are actually going to go do the thing, you know, follow the plot line and stuff, the plot hook, and go solve the problem at hand. And what if one of the players is like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go wander off here and do something else. How would I handle that? Like, would I run 2 games at the same time? And these are strangers and stuff. Like my home group players would never do this to me. They've gone off and done things by themselves occasionally during adventures, but it's always been for a very tactical reason. There's always been a very specific reason for doing it, you know. But they wouldn't just be like, screw that, and wander off because they wanted to. But I've always thought, what would I do at a convention if I had a player who did this? Because they're a stranger, they might do that. Who knows? And so I've just determined that, okay, if I ever have a player that just wants to go off and do something else, this is the way I would handle that. I would say, okay, well, that's cool. You can go off and do that other thing that you want to. I don't have a problem with that, but this is how we're going to resolve it. Okay, for the next 3.5 hours, probably 3 hours and 45 minutes, we're going to play the adventure that was prepared. And then for the last 15 minutes of the game time, we'll come back to you and you can just narratively tell me what happened, you know, and that's how we'll resolve that. And they're probably going to be like, well, that sounds horrible because I'm not getting to play the game. And I'll be like, yeah, absolutely. But you don't want to play the game that was prepared. You want to go off and do something else. And I'm not going to run 2 games at once, and I'm not going to shortchange all of the other players of their game experience because you want to go off and do your own thing. So I'm not going to tell you, no, you can go off and do that, but we're just not going to resolve that until the very end of the game session, the last 15 minutes. So if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but this is how we're going to do it because I'm running a group game and I'm not going to run 2 games, You know, that's why I've always thought like that's probably how I would resolve that. And at that point, I like in my little brain scenario, I'm like, what would the player do? Well, I would suspect they would probably be like, this is stupid, and they'd get up and walk away, and I won, because then I get to run my game, and everybody else gets to have a fun game session. Or they would probably be like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll just go along with everybody else. Okay, cool, and then we all won, and now we get to play the game. So I've always kind of like, you know, noodled that over, you know, and and it goes back to that idea of let them feel some friction, let them feel a little bit of like, oh, this sucks. You know, because that can encourage certain behaviors and discourage other behaviors. And so that's, I don't know, something I've thought about before. And I know I'm probably a horrible person because I didn't oblige them. Whatever, I don't care. They shouldn't come to the game session and then try to divert everything and screw everybody else's game time up. So that's on them. All right, let's see. Hector says, will you try Starfinder 2nd Edition? There's a playtest ongoing and it's meant to be fully compatible with Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I don't know. I don't really have any strong desire to play like a sci-fi game at the moment. So the answer is probably no right now. And I don't know how Starfinder 2 is, but one of my friends was telling me about Starfinder 1st Edition and when he played it, and what he was telling me is that every battle, and this is from his point of view, and may or may not be extremely factual, but it's just his perspective and what he found to be true for him. I want to make sure I clarify and preface that. But when he played Starfinder 1st Edition, he said it was not a very compelling game system because in combat, the best thing to do was simply drop prone and shoot at things with your gun. And so as soon as combat started, everybody just dropped prone and just started shooting. And that's kind of all you would do. And so he said that the combat was kind of like, you know what I mean? So, but that's what he said about it. And I've never played before, but he said that. And I was like, if that's actually true, then that's kind of crummy, you know, but 2nd Edition, they might have changed some things. I have no idea. I've never even looked at it, let alone play it, so I can't say anything. I like fantasy games. I just like the fantasy games, and I love sci-fi. Like I love Star Wars, the movies, not the ones that Disney is screwing up, and Disney continues to screw up because Disney is just apparently Disney has other priorities than creating movies that people like. So, but the original Star Wars and some of the other ones, those are all really cool. I like Star Trek. I love Star Trek. And the recent reboots that they've done recently were really, really good. So I love sci-fi. I've never really felt a desire to play too much in a sci-fi game. I've usually liked fantasy, but I did play. Now I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because I played Mothership at Gen Con, and that was tons of fun. Oh man, was Mothership fun. So I played with Baron Derop. So okay, hold on. Let's you guys may not know who all these folks are. So I'm gonna tell you who I played with, and then we'll look them up. So Dungeon Masterpiece is his YouTube channel. Let me see. Let's go over here. I'm gonna show you who I played with. So let's go over here. So this is Baron Derop. His first name's Ryan, and if I remember correctly, I hope I didn't screw it up, but I'm pretty sure it is. So I played with him. He was the game master. Oh, this guy is an amazing game master. Oh man, it was awesome. He was doing these voices that were just over the top, really, really cool. I loved, this guy was amazing. I loved that game. That was cool. And then she was in it too. Kelsey who made Shadow Dark was in that game as well. She's an amazing role player too. She was doing, at one point her character died and then she made a new one, and she came back as a scientist, And the way she was role playing it and her mannerisms and everything, oh, it was really, really well done. So she was in it. Baron DeRop was the game master, and then let's see, who else was at that table? It was me, those two. Who was the guy to my right? The heck is his name? Hold on. What is his name? Oh. I have a hard time remembering names. So, there we go. So Justin Alexander, who wrote this book, So You Want to Be a Game Master, he was in that. He was right to my right, and he wasn't right to my right. He was like one person over from my right. He was doing, my dog is hacking it up. He was doing an amazing job role playing too. At one point, he was a synthetic, a cyborg, and he was doing an amazing job, really, really good. So he was killing it. And then there was the other guy. Who was it? Let me see. It was like, let me see if he has a YouTube channel, and I'm having trouble remembering his name. Little guy, knock it off. What was his name? It was like Die. It was like I Die or something like that. There's no way I'm subscribed to him, but I'm subscribed to so many people. It's like impossible to search your subscriptions unless I can literally do a search here. Let me see. Search. Die. No, I can't. I don't know how to do it. He sent me an email recently too, and I just draw a blank on people's names. But he was crazy. I'm gonna find his name. I'm gonna find his email, because this guy was an outstanding role player, and also the voices he was doing were amazing. So I have to find him. I'm gonna find his email, because I'm bad at names, guys. I'm sorry. I'm gonna find him, and I'm gonna find his channel too, because he did a crazy good job. Let me see. Where are those? I think I put him in that folder right there. Yes, I found him. Okay. Jeez. Trevor. Yes, Trevor. And what was his YouTube channel? Me, Myself, and Die. That's what it was. Okay. Okay, here we go. I found him. I'm sorry, Trevor. So, Trevor from Me, Myself, and Die. This guy, he is really good at doing like special voices and stuff, in character voices. Amazing and really cool guy. So this guy right here, I played with him too. He was in that Mothership game. And then there were two other guys. There were two other guys in there. One of them, I never got his name. And then there was another one too, who I don't remember exactly who it was, because I have a crappy memory. But dang, that mother. And then Dan from Professor Dungeon Master, Dungeon Craft, he wasn't playing, but he was sitting there watching us play. So it was an amazing game. And we Stephen Glicker from Roll for Combat, he was there too, and he was to my left. And dang, that was just an awesome game. That was a fun game. And it reminded. So I had just rewatched. I had been watching the Aliens franchise, rewatching all of those, and the scenario that Baron DeRop ran us through was almost. It wasn't exactly a carbon copy of, but it was very similar to Aliens, the Aliens movie, where you like land on a planet, you're investigating colonists whose communication has gone dark, and then you start to find aliens. And so it felt like I was in that movie. It was really cool. And of course, we all died at the end. I mean, some of us died more than once. But I'm actually planning, I have a video coming out in about a month or something or other, where I'm going to talk a little bit about that Mothership game. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the character sheets, because the character sheet and Pirate Borg does the same thing, where your character sheets literally walk you through the character creation process. And like, that's how every game should be. Every game, the character sheet should walk you through how to create your character, And you almost don't even need to use the rule book at all. Everything's on the character sheet of how to create your character. And the rules are, you don't even really need them that much. And so that was really cool. And the great thing about that is that a couple people did die toward the beginning of the adventure. And within 5 minutes, they had new characters ready to go. And they were back in the game and playing. Try doing that with D&D 5th edition or Pathfinder 2. Like, it takes a long time to create a character unless you're really good at it and are really fast at it. But it can take some time. And to make one that you actually are going to enjoy playing. So I don't know. I was really impressed by Pirate Borg and Mothership and how they did their character sheets. It was just like spot on, very, very good. So so our conversation came from, I'm not interested in sci-fi stuff, but after playing Mothership, I would play that again in a heartbeat. That was super cool. I really enjoyed that. But of course, remember too that half or 95% of what makes a game fun is the people you're playing it with, right? Like, you can use a crappy game system that sucks, but you can be playing it with people that you love spending time with, and the game is fun. And then you could be using a wonderful game system that is designed by geniuses, but if your game master is not very good and the other players are kind of like not very nice people or whatever, you know, then your game experience is going to be poor. So the people you play with are a huge contributing factor. And so I was playing with an all-star cast of like role players, of people who could do good voices and stuff, just really, really, really fun. It was really cool. My dog is just, I think she needs some food. All right. Feel free to post questions. I probably missed some. Feel free to throw them up there if I missed your question. You can repost them. Nobody's going to bonk you for it. And our sponsor of tonight's stream is, I always forget their names because for whatever reason, it's like a tongue twister to me. Firelight Fables. I think it's because it starts with 2 F's, but I always stumble over pronouncing this. And I know that's horrible, but it's just who I am. I can't pronounce things for the life of me. And if you give me a tongue twister, I'm going to screw it up. Except for wood chucking. I can always chuck wood. Firelight Fables. So tonight's stream, sponsored by Firelight Fables candles. I have been using these candles for a little over a year now, year and a half-ish or something like that. And they have scents to them. They're fantasy scented. Like this one is Thieves Guild and then Dungeon Delve. These are my 2 favorite scents. But I love these suckers right here. And then they also have other scents like Mermaid Lagoon. Like this one's pretty good. Yeah, that's good. My wife is gonna steal this one. My wife has already stolen 2 of my candles, and they're upstairs in our breakfast area. And they have the big jars, obviously they come in. And then they have smaller tins, and then even smaller tins that you can get. And you can get bundles of them as well. And you probably know I have lots of cats and I have a dog, and there's an odor associated with that. And these things do a very good job of covering that up. I always have one burning back there when I'm playing with my friends because, you know, I don't want them to smell my dog. And these things smell awesome. I have one burning right now too. A lot of times in the morning when I get up and I'm working, I'll burn one of these suckers too because it just, you know, it smells really good and crap. So anyway, there's a link in the chat, in the description. If you use the discount code, the DM Lair, you'll get 10% off of these bad boys. All right, let's put those back over there. Nightbot has the candles covered. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's in the chat. Oh, my dog is just peeing over there. She just peed herself. There we go. That's why she wears diapers. She just went over there and squatted. Nice. Well, that's a pair of diapers we'll be cleaning. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, somebody asked a question. I hope she doesn't poop too. Now she's gonna wander around. Which third-party books are you most excited for? I don't know. Do I have any third-party books that I'm waiting for off Kickstarter? I don't know. I probably have some. Look, I think I just answered your question. If I can't name it off the top of my head, I'm probably not that excited for it. So, I don't know. I don't need a lot of third-party books because I homebrew most of my stuff. So, all I need are the core books, and then I just make my own adventures. So, sorry. Dirty White Llama says, "Who dat cat? Who dat cat in the frame? Who dat cat? Who dat cat?" I think I saw Squeaky. Yeah, Squeaky was up here. This is Squirty Pie right here. She's like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. This is Squirty Pie. She is pretty chunky. She's pretty chunky. Have you ever had an encounter with a monster that is bigger than gargantuan? Yeah. Your comment just got deleted. I wonder how that happened. Yeah, I mean, I have, but that size doesn't really exist. So I don't remember who was that? Oh, I can't remember. Maybe I didn't. I was thinking of Tiamat when I ran an encounter with Tiamat years ago, but I'm pretty sure Tiamat's gargantuan. So maybe I haven't. Maybe I haven't. Dice Quake has too many third-party books. Yeah, I made a rule for myself. So what I found, like back there's my bookcase, right? You can see my bookcase over there, and it's pretty full. And I have lots of books over there that I would buy and then never have time to read or use. And so I would say about a year ago, I made a rule where if I'm not planning on using the book, I don't buy it. And so now I only buy the things that I think I'm probably going to use, because I run a business and like everything, all these RPG books are write-offs and crap. I was kind of getting into this pattern where I would just see something that looked cool and I just get it, and then I never used the stuff. And so I was like, this is dumb, Luke. You should stop buying all this stuff if you're not actually going to use it. So that's my new rule. If I don't think I'm going to use it, I don't buy it. Because otherwise my bookcase just gets full of stuff and then I feel bad because it's like, oh, I have these cool books, but I never have time to read them. So that's my new rule. It's been my rule for a while. Oh, you deleted it because you wanted to add a follow-up? The bigger than gargantuan is called Titanic? I don't think that's in the rules though, dude. How do you run competent spellcasters? Yeah. Spell selection is the first thing you have to consider, because if you look at a lot of the spellcasters out of the books, the spells they pick are dumb or suboptimal or don't work. For instance, I've seen stat blocks where it has let's just say it has 2 third-level spells and they all require concentration. And then of the second level spells, there are 3 of them and 2 of them require concentration. And it's like, you can't give me all the spells that require concentration because I can't, once I'm concentrating, I can't cast the other ones. So spell selection is important. So don't just roll with whatever they printed in the book you bought. You need to actually look at the spells and pick better spells. That's the first step. Pick better spells if needed. The second step is you need to plan your spells out. What spells are you going to use? Okay, let's go back to step 1 though. So you need to always probably have counterspell, because the worst spellcaster is the spellcaster that never gets to cast a spell, because they just die and then nothing interesting happens. And so you need to have counterspell so that if a player tries to counterspell your spell, you can counterspell their counterspell. You counterspell the counterspell, so you can actually get your spell off. And I never use counterspell on my players unless they use counterspell on me. This is the rule I have. But if they're going to counterspell me, then I will just counterspell their counterspell and I'll cast my spell. Or if they start counterspelling all the time, then I'll just start counterspelling them all the time, and we'll just have this standoff of, if I don't get to play the game, you don't get to play the game, sort of situation. Because they get to cast their spells in every encounter. Not every encounter has a spellcaster monster. So if you let me play the game, I'll let you play the game. So this is this spoken rule that I have. So you want to probably have counterspell so you can actually play the game, and then use it if needed. And then you probably want to have all of the important, a shield. You probably want to have the shield spell. A spellcaster that doesn't have the shield spell is not smart. You can't have a high intelligence wizard who doesn't take the shield spell. It's just like, that's not smart. So there are certain standby spells you absolutely have to have, right? Dispel Magic is also a very smart one to take because it can deal with persistent area effect things that are going on. Like if a cleric throws down Spirit Guardians, Dispel Magic, right? If there's a Wall of Force or something, Dispel Magic. So any types of crazy, stupid stuff. Somebody casts Banishment, Dispel Magic. So there are things, that you can deal with. So spell selection is important. But then plan the spells out that you're going to cast. And remember, you're probably going to live for about 3 rounds. So you want to lead with your big bad boys. Lead with your big bad boys. And then positioning is super important. If your spellcaster gets engaged in melee combat or pinned down or has 2 characters adjacent to them, they're probably going to die very fast. So you got to stay away from the characters. Mobility is king. Staying away from them is super important. Having things like Misty Step or being able to teleport or being able to be on the top of pedestals that the players can't reach or an elevated area that they can't easily get to. These are all super important things when you're setting up that combat with spellcasters, because you got to stay mobile, you got to stay away from the characters, otherwise you're going to die very quickly. And then along those lines, you want to have melee characters that are going to be in the front line, melee monsters, enemies that are going to be in the front lines, so that the players are, when they go to attack, they're running into the melee monsters, and so the spellcaster is kind of in the back and not getting engaged in combat. So that's another thing that's super important, because as soon as you have like the fighter and the barbarian reach the spellcaster, they're going to die very quickly. So you want to stay away from them and stay mobile. I think those are important. I think playing intelligently, knowing how the rules work, is important. For instance, if you have someone who is going to counterspell you, what you could do is move around a corner, cast your spell, and then ready it, have a readied action with the trigger of when I see my target, it goes off. So you go around a corner, cast your spell, and come back around the corner, and then use your reaction to have it go off and actually land, so it can't be countered, because you have to be able to see the person to counterspell. So if you go around a corner, they can't do that. If you stay out of line of sight, so as a spellcaster, if you're hiding behind a corner and you come out, cast your spell, go back behind the corner again. Try to make yourself a scarce target. So those are just some things off the top of my head that should help you a little bit with spellcasters. But yeah, it's hard. 5th edition doesn't make running a enemy spellcaster easy. Most of the time they can suck, especially if you're getting counterspelled, or if you're not playing the mobile game and they just the fighter and the barbarian get next to you and they whack you a couple times, you're dead. Casters have such horrible hit points a lot of times in 5th edition that survivability is gonna be one of your biggest enemies. So those are some things off the top of my head for spellcasters that I would consider doing. Another big thing for spellcasters: have 2 of them. Have 2 spellcasters. Don't just go with 1. Have 2 of them. So there are like 4 melee monsters, and then 2 spellcasters. And don't have the spellcasters in the same spot. Have one over here and have one over here. And have one of it at an elevated position or something. Make them hard to get at too. Split them up, have them hard to get at, and have 2 spellcasters. That way, if somehow one of your players does counterspell one of them, you still get to do something with the other one, and have them use their biggest, baddest, nastiest spells first. Lay it down, baby. Lay it down. So there's some spellcaster stuff that you can use to mostly be able to make them usable in the game. But you have to work really hard to not just get shut down with spellcasters. But that's okay, because spellcasters are usually very intelligent, and so they would know these things. And especially if you're dealing with monsters that, if you have a high-level spellcaster, they're very competent. They've been around for a while. They have lots of experience, and so they would know how to do these things. And especially if they're high intelligence. And if you have a spellcaster who's like, I don't know, a demon or something, who has lived for thousands of years, then they have lots of experience and they would know these things. And so, because there's gonna be the people that say, well, that's metagaming, or you're intentionally thwarting anything the players might do. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm role playing my character. I'm role playing my spellcaster. Spellcaster's very intelligent. Spellcaster has lots of experience. He would know to do these things. He would know that he's going to get counterspelled if he comes out in the open. They know these things. I'm not intentionally thwarting what the players can do. I'm role-playing my enemies intelligently, and I'm not being a moron and standing there so I can get thwacked and killed in one round. Like, you know, being stupid isn't the way to go either. I don't know. I got something in here. It just wants to. It's killing me right now. You could not like. There, counterspell has no. How do I say this? Counterspell brings no meaningful benefit to the game. Counterspell, the only thing Counterspell does to the game is make it so that people can't play the game. If I'm using Counterspell on my character's wizard or sorcerer, I'm essentially shutting them down and they can't play the game. If they're using Counterspell on my enemies, they're shutting me down and I can't play the game. And if people are if spells are one of the interesting, fun, cool, dynamic things in the game. And if you take spell casting out of the game, then you're just swinging swords and stuff, which can be fun, but like spell casting is cool, right? This is one of the reasons we play the game. And we're not just playing some medieval fantasy simulation, you know, without magic. Like we want spells and stuff in magic because it's cool. It makes it more fun. And so spell casting, it's like a double whammy. It takes people out of the game and tells them they can't play the game, and it removes one of the, I'm sorry, not spellcasting, counterspell. It's a double whammy counterspell because it takes people out of the game and doesn't let them play the game, but at the same time, it is also removing one of the elements of the game that's really fun, magic. And so counterspell is just very, very bad. And yes, you will probably be doing yourself a service and doing your players a service by removing counterspell. Now, I don't remove counterspell from my games. I am just very punitive toward players who use counterspell. I will counterspell their counterspell. I will counterspell their spells. I will make it very clear to them that if you want to use counterspell, I will not make it worth your while, you know? So it's better for you to choose not to use counterspell. I had a player once who would use counterspell and I would just counterspell the counterspell. Or I would counterspell her spells and she would be like, oh, that sucks. Yeah, doesn't it suck when you don't get to play the game? That's how I feel too. So don't use counterspell. But yeah, you can go a step further and just ban it and make everybody's life probably happier. I mean, the players feel good when they counterspell an enemy's spell because they don't have to suffer the ill effects of it, you know. But the players are the only one playing a game. And they don't want to be counterspelled because that sucks. All right. I need to get some new tea here. I'm going to give you a quick video to watch. You have fun.
Are you a dungeon master? Do you want to be a dungeon master? Do you have blue face paint on your face? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you're just like me. Not only do you enjoy smashing players in the face with your axe every time they metagame, but you're also a busy person, and while prepping for a D&D game, well, sometimes that's hard. And as much as you'd like to force one of your players to run D&D for a change, well, they all suck, so it's pretty much up to you to be the forever dungeon master. And that's exactly why I get out my crayons every month and write a new issue of Lair magazine. Well, I mean, it's not just me, I have a team of people too. We all get out our crayons and write it, but yeah. Anyway, every issue of Lair magazine contains 5th edition Dungeon Master resources to help you reduce your prep time while still running amazing games for your lazy, good-for-nothing players. Every issue of Lair magazine contains 2 to 3 adventures complete with maps for online play. You know, we also sprinkle in other stuff like puzzles and traps, which, let's be honest, both suck to have to make yourself. So, I mean, wouldn't you rather just become a DM Lair patron and pay me to write them for you? I mean, you know, my team and I, with our crayons? Now, if you love your wonderful players as much as I do, consider helping me to meet my sales quota by becoming a DM Lair patron today at the link below. You'll get a new issue of Lair magazine every month and other cool stuff like map packs and bonus adventures. Okay, that's it. Please become a DM Lair patron now or I will find you.
Oh no. It went black. I cut myself. I think I just cut myself. On a box. Simpaticos, what's up, dude? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man. All right. tea going. Copper says, as a DM, I have decided that all my monsters who are magic users now also have counterspell, shield, and dispel magic, in addition to any spells on the stat block. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. You just throw them on there. Dispel magic is super useful. I always make sure that a spellcaster has dispel magic. Like, it is just insanely useful. I am doing well, dude. Hopefully we can get you to come play in Pathfinder, our Pathfinder game at some point when another one of our players misses. We are level 6 now. Level 6. How long have we been playing? We've been playing our Pathfinder 2 campaign now for a little over a year. I think we're about a year and 3 or 4 months or something like that. It's something like that. I think. So, what is your problem? You are getting hair all over it. All over the place, man. Dispel magic on the barbarian's magic weapon? Yeah. Yeah, we're having fun. Yeah, I'm having fun with Pathfinder 2. Yeah, we're still having fun. The players, everybody seems to be enjoying it. I still like tracking conditions is still, I hate tracking conditions in that game. It's such a pain in the butt. We have cards now. You might have been here when we had the cards, and Joe handles the cards, but tracking conditions is still a pain in the butt. That's my least favorite part. Like, the combat's fun. The combats are usually pretty quick and fast, and you know, everything's really fun, but tracking conditions, that is the part of the game that I wish I could throw away. Opinions on and tips for adding class levels to monsters. That is, example, sorcerer levels to Rakshasa. No, don't add class levels. Never add class levels to monsters. It's too much work. Just if you want a Rakshasa to cast spells, let them cast spells. What I normally do is a Rakshasa is probably like a challenge. What is it? A CR 8 or something. So what I would do is to add spells to Rakshasa, I would go over to like the mage stat block, and I think a mage is like a CR somewhere around there, maybe like a 12. No, the archmage is like a CR 12. So the mage is probably like a CR, I don't know what it is, 6 or 7 or whatever. I would just take the Rakshasa, and then I would find another stat block with some spells on it, and I would just take those spells and add it to Rakshasa. Done. Call it a day. And then you just play it like that. To go through the effort of adding like class levels to a monster and leveling it up, oh my gosh, why bother? Just merge a couple stat blocks and call it a day. As long as this is the way I usually think about it. This is like a rule of thumb. It's not perfect because there's gonna be some math people who are like, that doesn't work that way, Luke. And I know it doesn't work this way, but the challenge rating system and the encounter design system in D&D 5th edition is kind of borked anyway. So like nothing, even the math is broken. So like whatever. But you can basically take if you have a CR 10 monster and you want to take spell casting from another monster and just mash it into there, as long as the other monster is a CR 10 or below, you're probably not going to affect the challenge rating that much. So you can just mash those two together and call it a day, and it's super fast and super easy, and you don't got to do a whole bunch of junk. So adding class levels, no, too much work, not enough payoff, and it's not worth it. It's not worth the time. Just throw some things together and call it a day. And that's my quick rule of thumb. I've never screwed myself over following that rule of thumb. My players have never found themselves with a monster that is way more challenging than they can take on. So that's the way I would do that. Quicksilver says, to track conditions, I use the condition rings. They are also a must. I mean, I have condition. They don't make condition rings for Pathfinder 2 that I could find. I have cards that help us track conditions. So I put a ring around the character. It's a 5th edition one, but it's mostly a visual indicator. And then we put the cards. We have condition tracking cards we use, and then it uses dice to tell us, like, if you're like stunned 1 or stunned 2 or stunned 3, we have dice that will flip to tell you what level stunned you are. so we'll use those cards to track conditions, but it's still a big pain in the butt, man. It adds bog to the game and stuff. So I don't like it, but we use the tools that we can find to make it better, but it's still not my favorite part. Like if I could play Pathfinder 2 without conditions, I think I would be super happy. Like, that would probably take, so I played Pathfinder 2 for over a year now, and like the thing that I don't like is conditions. The condition tracking is miserable at times. If I could remove that from the game, I think I would be happier. The only problem is that if you take the conditions out of the game, then you're removing a part of the game that makes things more dynamic in combat. So you are losing something from combat, and abilities and attacks and spells like lose something, so combat becomes a little less interesting because it's not as complex. But I feel like we have too many conditions to track and things are a little too complex, and it needs to be simplified a little wee bit to make it more streamlined. So I think if I were to have to say the thing that I would like to change the most about Pathfinder 2, it would probably be the conditions. They're too complex and there's too much to track during a combat, and it just gets to be too much, and I just don't want to do it. Like, I'll tell you, like my monsters in my Pathfinder 2 games, like I know that I should try to intimidate first and then make my 2 attacks. But half the time I don't, and I just make 3 attacks, because if I intimidate them and they actually get it frightened 1, we have to get out a card and track that the character is frightened 1. And I don't want to track it. And so half the time when I'm playing my monsters, I don't use some of these things that I know they could do, because it adds this mechanical bog to the game, and I just don't want to do that. Now sometimes I do it because yes, but most of the times I'm just like, whatever, I'm just gonna attack 3 times. I know that it's not the best, tactical thing to do, but it's like it's way easier than like succeeding and then having to get out a card and a token and a little ring and track the conditions. So it's like, that's like my one little thing that I'd like to change. Otherwise, I think a lot of it's really fun. You can make your own condition rings. Yeah, but you have to track the in Pathfinder 2, conditions have numbers, so you can be like stunned 1 or stunned 2 or stunned 3. So you also have to track like the level of the condition that you have. Most conditions have levels to track on them, so you need like dice to track them as well. So it's, I don't know, it doesn't matter whether you have a ring or whether you have a card. You still have logistics to take care of. Tantalonian says, I am disappointed that your shirt isn't a Bucky's shirt. Hey, I have lots of Bucky's shirts, okay? I got this one because it was funny. I was like, hey, it's a spoof on Bucky's. I'm gonna get it. We have lots of Bucky shirts, don't worry. I have lots of them. My wife has them. We wear them all the time. So if you're lucky, I'll wear them in a future live stream or something, so. Jennifer says, my husband recently bought me 5e Lord of the Rings. I'm hoping to DM it sometime. Do you have any experience with that system, Luke? No, I don't. I've never played 5e Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'm familiar with Lord of the Rings. I love Tolkien's books, Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. Those books are really good. I have them on my shelf back there, and I've read them several times. So I have them. They're from my grandpa. They're my grandpa's books. When he passed away, I got a bunch of books from my grandpa, and those were some of the ones I got. And the pages are all like yellow, like old. You know when you get an old book and you smell it, and there's that old book smell. Oh yeah, they got the old book smell to them. It's good. Have you seen the Bidoof memes? No. What is the Bidoof meme? I've never seen those. Bidoof meme. I haven't. I'm looking at them right now. Oh, it looks like this is a thing. I didn't even know this was a thing. Wow. Huh. I don't know what Bidoof is though. Is that from Pokemon Go? Oh, so, wait, no, it's from, so Bidoof is a Pokemon thing. So wait, this is a Pokemon thing? Bidoof is a Pokemon thing. I don't do Pokemon. I don't know anything about it. That's interesting. Huh. Wow. Oh, you want to do a cast strike? We can do a cast strike really quick. All right, get out of the way, fatty. All right, we got. There we go. Hey, I got some customers. I have customers. This is the one for shaking, but I'm gonna give them the other one. All right, let's go. I'm gonna get mommy. My mommy cat's over here. Oh, here she comes. Mommy! Come on, mommy. Come here, mommy. What's up, little girl? I don't know if she's gonna. She can't see. She's blind, but it looks like she's trying to find them, and she might actually find some. And my dog. Surprisingly, my dog did not get up. I was expecting my dog to get up and walk over there and scare the cats away. So. A bunch of memes circulate about Badoofy being stronger than it actually is. Oh, interesting. Oh, Dice Quake, you showed your socks. Oh man, I walked, my socks walked on stream. Oh no. Oh no, mommy doesn't have Scottish fold ears. We are pretty sure. Uh-oh. The goose honking scared mommy off. We're pretty sure that mommy was a stray cat that we took in, and we're pretty sure that she had frostbite on her ears, and that's what caused them to like fall off basically. So we're pretty sure that's frostbite. If it's not frostbite, it's from fighting, because she was a stray when we took her in. And when we took her in, she had 4 kittens with her, something like that. So anyway, yeah, but she's very spoiled now. Super spoiled kitty is what she is. All right, now we have 1 cat left because the dog started honking and scared them all away. Sapati goes, the foot stream confirmed. Dan Peary says, I need content for a game and do not have time to write adventures. On your website, is there a way to sort the adventures by levels? I thought, okay, hold on a second. Let's go to our website. So thedmlair.com. Now, so we have a whole bunch of content on our website. If you go to, let's see, how do I go here? Newsletter, 5e resources. So if you go to our website, thedmlair.com, we have at the top here 5e resources. And then we have a whole bunch of blog posts basically where you can get things like magic items and puzzles and monsters and whole bunches of different stuff. And we have adventures posted here. Now, most of the adventures right here are short adventures that we've published. And there aren't a whole lot of them right here. But we do have an archive. If you join our newsletter, we have an archive of adventures. And let's see, that one right there, I need to figure out how to get there. Because it's not a public link. If you join our newsletter, then you'll get a link to our archive of adventures. And then you can I'm trying to find that really quick here. I don't have it handy. I have to drill down into it because it's not a public link. So I have to go to my back end, and then I have to open up the page, and then I'll show you those because you might find those interesting / useful. Here, go to my pages, and then I need to view this page. Okay, there we go. So this page right here, this is the page that has our archive of stuff. And if you join our newsletter, you'll get access to this page. And then this page right here does have our archive of adventures listed by level. So, you know, levels 1 to 4, and then it tells you what levels they are, levels 5 to 10, and then it tells you the levels there, and then levels 11 to 16, and then 17 to 20. So join the newsletter, you'll get access to all that crap. And there's a button at the top here that you use to join the newsletter. And then every Tuesday, actually, you know, you'll immediately get an email that'll give you the link to that page. So, but yeah, it's all listed by level. So I hope that helps. Oh, we have a giveaway going on today too, guys. We're gonna give away $50 DM Lair store credit. We have a whole bunch of crap on our store. Like, I was literally just there. I could probably just show you. We have tons of stuff on our store. We have Lairs and Legends, which is 2 big, massive books filled with Game Master resources. We have the Secret Art of Game Mastery is over there as well. We have free samples you can download for all of our products too. Secret Art of Game Mastery is over there. So if the winner of the giveaway tonight will get $50 DM Lair store credit, and you can pick up some books to use in your games, such as Lairs, Legends, Secret Art of Game Mastery. We have Lair magazine over here as well that you can pick up. So yeah, join the giveaway. There should be a link down in the chat. It looks like it's right there. I'm going to draw the winner in about 5 minutes or so. So now is a good time to jump in on that. I have not mentioned the giveaway at all. I forgot to do that during the entire stream. I should probably have done that. Yeah, Into the Fae is cool. I wrote Into the Fae myself. That's all me. And right now I'm finishing up Escape from the Fae. That's the continuation of the adventure module. Which is better, Vecna Eve of Ruin or Enter the Fae? Into the Fae. I mean, I wrote Into the Fae, and I don't own Vecna Eve of Ruin, nor have I read it, nor do I know much about it. So put what I'm about to say into context. So with that context set and my bias clearly established, I can say with confidence that Into the Fae is better. So you take that how you will. Take that how you will. No, Into the Fae is not available for Pathfinder 2. It's just 5th edition right now. So Escape from the Fae. So Escape from the Fae will have a Kickstarter in the future, probably in 2026. Like, Zach and I just had a meeting on Monday where we were figuring out Kickstarter stuff, and Escape from the Fae is probably not going to be until 2026, and I can talk about why if you even care. But what was I going to say? So you can get Escape from the Fae right now. Oh, I'm not showing you my screen. Let's go. There you go. So we have Escape from the Fae available as PDFs right now, but the actual book, where we put it into book form and incorporate updates from the playtest that I'm currently running, and different things, and then probably expand on the content, because that's what you usually do during a Kickstarter. Like, that Kickstarter is probably going to happen in 2026, would be my guess. We're planning a different Kickstarter for 2025. Zach and I are designing a fantasy board game, and that is going to be our Kickstarter in April of 2025, April-ish, somewhere around there. So that's what we're going to be kickstarting at that point. So, but Escape from the Fae, you can get the PDFs right now, but the Kickstarter itself is not going to come until probably 2026 would be probably when you're going to see that. So one of the reasons we decided to push that out is with the new 2024 D&D coming out, we were like, running a 5th edition Kickstarter right around the time these books are all releasing is probably not the most strategic thing to do, because we would have tons of questions about, like, is this going to be compatible with the new version? And like, we just don't want to answer those questions right now. We'd have to get the new versions, and we don't know what the reception is going to be. We don't know if people would want them to be in the new version or not. It's just launching a 5th edition Kickstarter right around the time these new versions are coming out is just a very messy, muddy ordeal. And so we were like, it's probably better to avoid that. It makes life easier if you can let them get their new version out, let that settle a little bit, and then you have more information upon which you can make good decisions. But with it all coming out, it's just like, oh, how do you make good decisions, like future-proof decisions? Because it could be that people love the new edition and they're like, yay! And it could be people hate it and they're like, but we won't know that until it's out for a little bit and people have a chance to get it and then play with it and stuff like that. So that's got to get pushed out until that whole question kind of gets settled, And so that's probably not going to be until 2026 is what we're thinking. And it's just pure business decision, most part, because it's written. It's almost all written. We probably could launch the Kickstarter next year, but it's bad timing. It's bad business timing. Do you have advice for if a player wants to play 2 characters instead of 1? I'm chill with this. I just want tips. So I have no problem allowing that if players want to do that, if it's needed or necessary in the game. But I usually would only allow it if there are too few players. Like, let's pretend you have 3 players and you're running an adventure module that's designed for 4 players. Then, and one of the players is like, oh, I'll run another player, and then you have 4 characters. So in situations like that, I would allow that with stipulations. I would want to make sure that my player, and I'm going to probably just say this very bluntly, is competent and is able to run 2 characters. Like, if somebody is a new player who's unfamiliar with the rules and as a double whammy on top of that is indecisive and can't make up their minds, then I'm not going to let them run 2 characters, because they're not going to be familiar with the rules. They're going to trip over themselves. They're not going to be able to differentiate between their 2 different characters. And then when it's their turn in combat and stuff, they're not going to be able to make up their minds, and everything. The whole game will bog down, because characters are complex. As a game master, we run multiple monsters all the time, and it's not a problem. But they give us stat blocks. Stat blocks are specifically designed for game masters to simplify the mechanics so that you can run those. You can run multiple monsters in a combat if you want. And it's not that big of a deal. Characters are usually 3 to 4 pages of a character sheet with much more complex rules and mechanics and all these special things they get to do. And they're more complex for a reason, because it's assumed that a player is going to run 1 character. And so it can be more complex because they're doing 1 thing. When you give a player 2 characters, there's a much more added complexity to that. And so you want to make sure that your player is able to do it and isn't going to bog the game down. And as long as they can do it and it's not a problem, then sure, go for it. Many times, I have my throat is, I don't know what's going on here. Many times in my Pathfinder 2 game, when a player can't make a game session and we can't get someone to fill in, I would say all the time, one of the players will run the character for the other player who could not make the game session, and then that player will run 2 characters. But my Pathfinder 2 players are all very competent, intelligent, experienced people, and they're able to do that. But I run games with some people that they can barely run 1 character. I would never give them a 2nd character. So, you got to make sure that you're, using this when making those sorts of decisions. But if it works and it's not a problem, then yeah, knock yourself out. Ken Tolian says each of my players has 3 characters each. When I first started playing D&D with my daughter, she was about 12 or so at the time, and she was running 2 characters, and then I was the game master and I was running 2 characters, so that we have a party of 4, and then obviously I was a game master, so I was running the monsters and stuff. And of course, I was being careful not to fall into the DMPC pitfalls and stuff, you know. But yeah, my daughter was running 2 characters, and so that was cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time to do the giveaway. So we will draw the winner to our giveaway tonight. We'll give you a couple minutes for latecomers if you want to jump in on the giveaway and sign up for that. There's a link in the chat somewhere where you can sign up for that, and maybe one of our moderators can throw another link there for you. So, but we'll do one last little plug for the live stream sponsor tonight, which is Firelight Fables candles. So you can get these things. These are premium quality scented fantasy candles. It's fantasy scented. So this is one of my favorites, Dungeon Delve. This one's cool, Mermaid Lagoon, but Dungeon Delve is one of my favorite scents, and my other favorite scent is Thieves Guild. So these are the 2 I burn the most. Well, I actually don't burn them that frequently because I like them so much. I want to save them, and so I tend to burn the other ones, which is probably dumb. But anyway, I don't use them a whole lot because I like them, and I'm trying to save them. That's probably some sort of psychological crap I got going on here I need to deal with. But anyway, these are really good. And then they have these big jars. They have these little tins here, and they have these, and they're all fantasy scented. So this is Potion of Healing, Stormy Hollow. This is Coconut Apricot Wax, which is super high quality, and they have wooden wicks as well, which like flicker and crackle and stuff, and are super cool. So you can get these. There's a link down below, and you can use the code the Lair to get 10% off your order. And these are amazing smelling candles. So if you have like pets and stuff that stink, and then your friends are coming over and you don't want your house to smell like a crazy old cat lady, you can burn these, and then they'll never know because they're just smelling these wonderful candles, and they have no idea that your cat peed in the corner the other day and you couldn't clean it up, you know. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna draw the winner. Wood wicks are the best. Yeah, they're very nice. The thing that I like about the wood wicks is that most candles this size, I have to buy, if I'm getting normal wicks, I have to get the ones that have 3 wicks. Otherwise, it won't burn evenly. It'll like burn holes into the candle. And the great thing about these wooden wicks is they're like wide, and as long as you let it burn long enough, the whole thing will, you know, melt and will burn down evenly. And so, and this wax, this coconut apricot wax is very soft too. And so it gets warm and burns down evenly. So very, very high quality. Oh, baby. Okay, let me go find the giveaway, and then we're gonna draw the winner to the giveaway. Winners. Here we go. Draw the winner. And we have... And our winner is Alan from New York. Alan from New York. You have won the giveaway. I will send you an email, probably tomorrow morning or something, but you'll get an email from me, and we will get you hooked up with some cool stuff from the Lair store. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for the evening. I'm going to bed. Thank you very much for hanging out. I will be here next Thursday. Next Thursday, I have Sly Flourish on stream. Mike Shia, I think that's how you say his last name. Sly Flourish is going to be on stream, and we're going to talk about dungeon mastering, and we'll talk about some of the things out of his books, the lazy game mastering stuff. So it'll be cool. And yeah, so he'll be on next Thursday. So look forward to that, and we will see you next time. I gotta find my buttons, and then I'm gonna hang up on you all as soon as I find my buttons. Whee!